put this thing on Do
Yeah,
Not
I just
Disturb,
hadn't,
and
too
then,
active.
like today, I don't realize.
Welcome, everyone. I'd like to call the December 11th, 2017 East Ascension Drainage meeting to order. Mr. Turner is the only one absent. Mr. Dawson, would you lead us in the invocation followed by the pledge?
Let us pray. Father, we give you thanks and praise, and as we come during this holiday season, we thank you that this is a time to enjoy families and to realize the great gift that you gave unto our world by the birth of your Son. So as we enjoy family and friends, we pray for your protection, that you watch over everyone and keep them safe, and that we enjoy the true meaning of Christmas. We also think that during the recent event, the snow event, we thank you that those from out of town came and assisted. There were no major issues of getting things back up and running in Ascension Parish. The Entergy and Demco and all the other utilities that came together, we thank you for it. We thank you for protecting the people of Ascension and keeping us safe through that event. Now give us wisdom, give us your knowledge in doing the people's business tonight. And we thank you for the togetherness and unity that you create in our hearts one toward another, especially during this time of year. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll move on to number 3. Anyone wishing to speak on any agenda item, please sign in with the secretary. And we got the agenda. We're going to pull items 9, 10, and 11. Ms. Collins has some stuff she needs to finish up with that. Number 4, the acceptance of the minutes for the November 6th.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Moved by Mr. Lambert, second by Mr. Johnny. Under the chairman's report, I want to welcome our 2 representatives, Mr. Shake Schneider and Mr. Berthelot. They're going to come forth and give us some updates, and appreciate y'all being here.
Thank y'all. Thank y'all for letting me be here tonight, and thank you for letting me speak. The reason I'm here tonight is to get with y'all about the weir project in Ascension Parish on the A meet and the diversion. It's been a long time since that weir's been worked on and looked at, and I say looked at, it's been looked at quite a while, but one of the reasons I'm here is to explain to you why this project's so important. You know, we recently had the big flood event. We looked at all the scenarios of how the water moved and everything, and one of the biggest problems we have is right now if you go down the diversion canal, the water's a lot higher than it normally should be, even at a normal river stage. And the reason of that is because right now the way the weir is and the way it's not working, normally when the weir is working properly, you should have 70-30 flow, where 70% of the water is going down the Old A meet and the 30% is going down the diversion. Right now we're at 20-80, where 80% of the water is going down the diversion and only 20% is going down the Old A meet. This is a project that could help us all as far as flooding and diverting the water and being able to get it out a lot quicker. Right now we've been working with, in conversation with Livingston Parish and East Baton Rouge about getting this project done. With the recent dollars that's come in, Livingston has opted to pretty much take care of this project. What I'm asking is tonight is asking y'all to look into going into a MOU with Livingston Parish for this project. Basically, they'll go in, they'll hire the construction crew and the engineering crew to go in and fix it, and it'll cost our parish about $800,000. And, you know, a project that's in our parish, that's going to benefit our parish, that's roughly, let's say the number's a $9 million project. I think that's a great benefit to the people of Ascension Parish and a great benefit to us.
This is great news. Mr. Kluwat.
Clay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
We appreciate it. And we know that the weir's been out of shape for a long time, okay? And we've had some types of bringing it back into condition. We've had some types of opposition because of the natural movement down in diversion and recreation on different things. We know that the Amite River is in terrible shape. It needs dredging all the way out to the lake, and probably then some. And I know y'all trying to work hard on some federal monies and some stuff to get that done. Our whole delegation, Louisiana delegation, and our Washington delegation. With that, I would like to make a motion that we ask legal to look into going into an MOU with Livingston Parish on the Amite River Diversion Weir project.
Thank you.
Hold on to that. We're going to finish the discussion. Go ahead.
Okay.
Go ahead. What's your discussion?
Well, I was gonna second the motion too, but, so Clay, thanks for coming. And I wanted to just clarify a couple of things. So you're saying about 9 million, is that what we thinking the project is gonna cost?
We've had several estimates on it. The highest that was on it was 9, and that's the only reason I went there, but we've had as low as 5. So it's a number that I just stuck with. Livingston's gonna go into having people come out, bid on it, and the normal process, of course.
So, and how much is Livingston's share gonna be? Do you know, or is there
As far as
I mean, is it part of the state funding and part of it living, or is it just living?
Part of it is the flood money that they had gotten during the last flood.
Hazard mitigation?
Yes.
Okay. So there's no state funding here. It's
No.
just this Livingston's gonna fund the 8.2 or whatever it
Whatever
takes
the
to,
amount is.
in addition to this 800,000 that we put up.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let me just make sure that I understand that. So normally, 70% of the flow that comes in goes to the Amite River, and 30% would go through the diversion to get down into Maurepas.
Correct, when the wheel's working properly.
And so now, with only 20% of that going down the Amite River, that channel becomes full of sediment. Is that
It's
correct?
becoming full of settlement, and it's restricting the flow of a natural drain that we already have. You know, the weir was designed as a flood control structure, and without it working properly, we're losing that second drain that we've had normally.
So we're not diverting enough water down there to keep that channel clear, for one thing, and then secondly, we're not, during a high water situation, we're not diverting enough of it to alleviate some of the flooding,
Right.
to help get it into Maurepas.
Right.
Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So I'll stand by my second.
And just to make it clear before y'all make motions and vote on it, so I understand, y'all want me to begin negotiations with with Livingston Parish for intergovernmental agreement and then bring it back to y'all for approval?
Well, I
Final
refrain.
turn?
Yeah, totally. I said
Correct.
legal. I mean the administration with your
Okay.
assistance, okay?
Okay.
Mr. President, go ahead.
Mr. Clay, is Baton Rouge still in this, or they're not in it anymore?
The last I talked to Mark Howell, Baton Rouge they're still in negotiations to be part of it.
So what I would like to do is put this agreement with all three if we're gonna work together on it, you know? So, I did talk with Baton Rouge too. They just didn't know where they were at on it, so they're looking at it also. So if we can get Cody to talk with both parishes. Okay.
Okay. Mr. Sadler?
Yeah, the president may have answered my question, but it was actually a follow-up to Councilman Dawson's question. Mr. Schexnayder, the $800,000 AP side of it, where did we come up with that number?
That was a number that Livingston had gave me that would roughly be what it would cost us as a cost share to be able to do the project.
So before going in, it's a number they would be comfortable with?
Yes.
It'd be a starting point for legal and/or the administration to negotiate. And now, as I understand it from what Kenny just said, we would be hopefully throwing Baton Rouge into the mix.
Yes, sir.
So that number may, I mean, in the motion tonight, Mr. Chairman, this would go to you then. Is it necessary that we even put a number other than to just authorize the administration and legal to sit down at the table with these other two parishes and
Yeah, and I'm
I'm
sure
not trying
the-
to
I'm
change
sure-
your motion, Randy, but
Well, I can clarify it.
Yeah,
Yes.
because
I'm sure if the bid comes in lower, that the number would be less, I would think. So, yeah, I don't have an issue with that.
Mr. Aaron,
Thank you for all your work on this. My question is with the dredging of the amite. I know this will assist with that. Are we going to have to go back in there and dredge the amite?
I'm glad you brought that up. With the flow starting to push back down the Amite, Livingston Parish is going to take it upon themselves to dredge the mouth of the Amite, which right now, if you've made that trip and you've been down there on a normal water stage, it's about 2 foot deep. They're going to dredge it. I'm not exactly sure how far back from the lake, but what that's going to do is once your normal flow starts going down there, that's going to allow water to start moving through, and it'll start taking that settlement back out on its own.
Okay.
Now, will it be enough? Only time will tell. But it's something definitely that's going to benefit once they dredge that mouth and we get the water going back down there.
Okay, good. Answers my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
I want to clarify my motion is I didn't set a dollar limit on it, but the fact is that we have already, within this body, have already agreed multiple times on money spent to do something with the weir. We feel like that is a problem for us, but I'd also like for you to, as those plans evolve, is that we get what I got a constituent here tonight, Mr. Babin, that has, he's a stakeholder down there, and so are 50 other people, and we have the guys that are, if we turn the water down the Amite, we got a large portion of Ascension Parish in my district that's along the Amite. It's a lot more than a lot of people think, and so we need to work with all those folks.
Yes, sir.
Because what we're going to change something and put it back like it was intended. That is a diversion canal. It was dug to divert that 30%. But we're going to change something that's been out of whack for a long time, and habit becomes policy. So, the way that the diversion canal is used, based on getting across that weir and getting around there, is what people's been doing for a lot of years.
Right.
It's been messed up for a long time.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Terry.
Now, Clay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know the folks on the lower Amite will be thrilled. I had the privilege of owning a small camp down there years ago, some 25 plus years ago. The fish kills started because the water was not available. Once the weir became a problem, we just could not, you couldn't hardly stand it when all those fish died. It was horrible to see all those beautiful fish dead, and then to smell them wasn't good either.
Yes.
So we're very grateful for the opportunity to work with Livingston. I'll certainly be supporting that, and thank you for
so
your
much.
efforts.
And this is a project that benefits all our district. As I mentioned before, just about the majority of our parish, unless you live in AC or Sorrento, it passes through that weir. It comes from your districts, everybody's district. It comes by there. So this is an important project to benefit pretty much the whole parish. So.
Mr. Lambert, this has been
Yeah,
your problem for a long time.
Yeah, quite a while. Been on board a long time working on this. And Clay, I guess it's not only a drainage issue, it's a safety issue that we've been having out there that's been very, alarmed by all this council, to try to do something with that issue. So this will definitely help that also.
Yes.
I guess restricting the water going down the diversion just to 30% or whatever is not going to hurt them homes, you don't think?
No.
When the weir was working, that was way before my time, I guess, when it was working or put in properly, I guess all that water, I guess, pretty much had a decent enough level in the diversion to keep, I guess, recreational.
And it'd be hard to put a date on when it was actually working well, but you think back to let's say the 70s.
The 70s.
And they were bringing shells and barges down there right there to the diversion bridge. So, I mean, at one time, even with that water level,
Still gonna have a good level.
Yes.
Appreciate all your work on it.
Thank y'all.
Mr. John.
Thank you, Clay. Appreciate it. I've been meeting a couple of times with the Waterways, our Parish Waterways Commission, and I think they're going to be breathing a big sigh of relief to get this thing. They're out there all the time putting signs up, warning people about, shallow water, and still boats are, recreational boats are getting torn up pretty regularly from what I understand. So.
And if you passed out there during just a regular water level time, it doesn't even look like there's rocks there. I mean, a lot of people that come down to
Correct.
enjoy themselves on the A-Meet and in Ascension Parish and have a nice boat ride, they'll jump across there and get hung up on
And
the
they're
rocks
not,
and tear
they're
a
not
boat up,
rocks,
so,
they're boulders.
yes.
There's more
That's
than
big-
one lower
big-
unit there.
Yeah,
But again, thank you.
thank you.
Mr. Benny?
Yeah, Clay, like everybody else, we appreciate y'all coming and explaining this to us and the opportunity. I guess my question to maybe clarify a little bit more. So what percentage of the cost of the project are they estimating on the weir, as well as the difference in how much money is going to be to do the dredging and the clearing? Because I know I've been taking a boat ride on the backside of the island and between the trees and everything else and kicking up mud. A little boat that I was in, we had trouble getting through there and then coming back up to Amy.
I'm not sure the dollar amount on the dredging side of it. I think Livingston right now is in the process of getting bids on what it would cost to dredge a certain amount of the mouth to get the water moving again. But for the last couple of years, we had met with several different engineers on doing the weir project, and the numbers varied big time.
Right.
So, you know, anywhere from 9 to 5 roughly was the amount to do the project. And they had it different ways, you know, the way they wanted to do it. Some wanted to use a special kind of rock, and it had to weigh a certain amount, and some didn't want to use concrete. You know, they didn't want to use any of that, but some did. Some said it would be possible to do it that way. So, and I guess we used the number as a $9 million number, where it would end up costing us about $800,000. So,
Yeah, so for the total investment on our part, compared to the overall project, we're getting a lot of stuff done for our constituents as
Yes.
well as for the whole region,
that's
which
right.
is a good thing to get involved.
And we're, you know, it's, you know, me and my seatmate in Baton Rouge, Representative Berthelot, we, you know, we pride ourselves on trying to work with everybody. And this is the first step for us to be able to do the same thing. I hear it a lot. I don't know how many of the other ones do, but you know, Livingston lots of times puts that we putting water on them. Well, this is a project that benefits Livingston as well as Ascension and as well as East Baton Rouge. So this is where we can all take that first step to being together on the same team.
We appreciate what y'all are doing. Thank you.
Thank y'all.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Berthelot, you have anything?
Thank y'all so much.
I knew you was bringing us a Christmas present. Didn't know how big.
That's the present.
Thank you, my friend. Go ahead, Mr. Floyd.
I just want to back up what Clay said, is that I talked to my counterpart from Livingston on the other side, and they're all in favor of that, okay? And when we kind of subjectively wonder where the $9 million came from. Well, I hadn't been around as long as Todd, but I've been around long enough to where it started at $2 million or so, and it went out for a study. Then it came back, and it was based on some of it was core issues, and some of it was engineered, and there was projections that quickly went between 5 and 9. Okay, so this has been on the table for a long time, and it needs to be cleared up. Once again, I ask you this, as we go forward, to keep us posted, and I know Mr. Rue is not here tonight, and I'm asked Mr. Dawson, Mr. Ken Dawson, to please take a look at, there was some things, Mr. William Daniels, that there were some things that we already have put a lot of work into on that weir, that if we need to transfer some information to these guys and see where we stand, but we put out money already on this. Thank you.
All right, with that being said, I'd like to go ahead and we need to go ahead and add this to the agenda, if you don't mind. And Ms. Deb, would you give us a roll call we're gonna put this at 5A.
Bill Dawson,
Yes.
Daniel Satterley,
Yes.
Randy Kluweit,
Yes.
Aaron Lawler,
Yes.
Terry Kazza,
Yes.
Todd Lambert,
Yes.
John Cagney,
Yes.
Benny Johnson,
Yes.
Yes. With that being said, it passed. Let's be 5A. Now we'll go with Mr. Cloat's motion and second by Mr. Bill Dawson. Any objection to the motion? Not passed. Thank y'all. We're gonna move on to number 6, the drainage report. Mr. Daniels, or
I'm filling in for Mr. Rue, who is out on medical leave. I apologize in advance if I can't answer all your questions, but I'll do the best I can. So I wanted to update on a few projects. First of all, the Laurel Ridge levee extension. We got an email from the Corps that permit will be issued before Christmas, so Merry Christmas, everybody.
That's what we want. That's what we want.
oh, my friend.
We'll believe it when we see it. We're good.
Well, so the Corps sent an email, so that's as good as we can have right now as in terms of a guarantee. The new River Weir was awarded to H. Davis Cole. The contract negotiations are underway, so that should be starting here shortly. On the Marvin Bro Pumps site, BKI 80% design on the stop logs and surge protection. So that's where we are on that. So there's also HNTB working on the floodplain management. That's supposed to be ready to go around February or March. So if you have any questions, I'll do my best. I also have experts in the audience behind me, so I'm feeling a little more comfortable about that.
That's good. I would just like somebody to take, you don't need to leave the podium, but I would,
Yeah, please, go ahead.
I would like somebody from GSA to step forward and tell us, I know we're getting the permit, but what is our steps? You know, it's been a long time waiting. This project was down in the dumps 10 years ago. We've been working on bringing it back and rerouting it, adding on everything.
You are? Oh, okay.
What's your name?
Glenn Shaheen, GSA. How you doing?
All right.
Bionic man.
Good. Your question was regarding what are the steps to getting the permit?
We say we're being issued the permit
That's correct.
before Christmas. What is our next step? Because I
Well,
know that we still have some small hurdles
That's correct.
to jump.
Getting the permit will encompass a couple things. One, we also need a coastal use permit, which is being handled by the Department of Natural Resources.
Mm-hmm.
That'll all be part of the permitting process with the Corps. The draft of that permit, as we can appreciate, has been completed. As you recall, we had 2.7 acres of the 44 acres that we're acquiring that's in the coastal zone.
Right.
So that requires a coastal use permit. Another step is the approval of the monitoring sites that were proposed. There are going to be 6 or 7 monitoring sites that'll also be included in that permit. As you heard tonight from Mr. Daniel, is that the Corps, of course, we've been hearing this for quite some time, but
your 6 weeks is up, my friend.
They are saying that they're going to have this draft of this permit to us by Christmas, or they're going to try to get it to us by Christmas. So that's anybody's guess as to whether all of that works out. Typically over the holidays, things, schedules, people are in the office, they're out of the office. There's a lot of coordination that needs to happen within the Corps of Engineers. There's not just a single person that issues. There's several people that have to review that. So we'll see what happens. The next step is to, once we get the draft permit, is making sure that the permit is consistent with what we're proposing. There may be some discussions and responses back and forth till we finally get to the point where they can issue a final permit. We have not done any of the design work. We've only done very preliminary work on the design to be able to submit to the Corps enough information to substantiate the project. And that's and our contract is through the Pontchartrain Levee District. So we're hoping that the draft of the permit will be issued by Christmas, which will give the Pontchartrain Levee District the confidence that they can allow us to move forward with the final design of that project. We've already done appraisal work on the right-of-way acquisition. There has been no right-of-way acquisition, formally that's taken place. All the title work has been done. All the the appraisal work has been done. If you recall, we just maybe a month or so ago finalized the wetlands mitigation for that project. So those are the steps that we have completed and the steps to go forward to get the project to construction. We're estimating the design time to be probably 8 to 9 months. So if everything goes as planned, as you know, as the schedule is laid out, and if the Corps is able to get us a permit by Christmas, we're thinking that maybe by this time next year, I say this time next year, depending on how long it takes for the right-of-way acquisition, that could go. I don't remember how many parcels. It's 44 acres. Dwight may be able to answer how many parcels of land we're talking about. But if all that goes well, then, you know, maybe this time next year we're looking at the possibility of putting a project out for bid.
Okay.
It's about a 2-year construction process. So if we put it out for bid a year from now, we begin construction the beginning of 2019.
Right.
We're looking at completion somewhere in the neighborhood of 2021.
Just a quick note that
Yes, sir.
as we continually jump through hurdles for the last 2 years, and one thing I want to go ahead, since I don't know if we have a delegate here, but I appreciate the Punch Train Levy District working with us on that and putting their time and efforts back into Ascension Parish, and we'll continue that.
I don't know if anybody, I appreciate the comment. Dwight's here. Blaine was going to try to make it if he could, but apparently he got tied up.
Yeah.
But what of significance, and I don't know if it's on our, I didn't look at our schedule. I apologize.
Right.
All the information that we normally include in our, but there's been some changes as to what information we present to you. But what's critical, or what's important, I think, to the citizenry, and I think to this board, not only you know, the effort that PLD put in, but the dollars.
Yeah.
It's a pretty significant cost to them. Of course, the parish is going to pick up the cost of construction, and then the perpetual maintenance, operation and maintenance of the levee and the control structures. So
I just wanted to ask you, I know in all the preliminaries that as we go through the different phases and we see how it's going to operate and how we're going to mitigate and how we're not going to affect the wetlands, this, that, and others. So within all the submittals, we do have basic operation of floodgates. And so I just want to make sure everybody understands that that's all been cleared. And that all that had to be cleared, and it takes a lot of time to get that, because at whatever point that none of that's agreeable, there's no reason to go ahead and purchase land, move forward, or anything to you.
There's an operational plan that was developed as to the operation of the control structures. When you open them, when you can't open them, when you shut them. That operational plan will be included in the permit when we get it. It'll tell you what you're allowed to do, how, you know, from an operational standpoint. The monitoring plan, which will also be included in that permit, will identify the testing points. And it'll be a I don't know if it's going to be 5 or 10 years worth of testing, but they will make sure that this levee and this structure does not have any adverse impact to the wetlands. So there are monitoring points that have been identified on the dry side or protected side of the levee, as well as the unprotected side of this levee, to make sure that we're not adversely affecting wetlands inside the levee or outside the levee.
Thank you, sir. That's all I got.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Mr. Dawson, on the drainage report, you have anything?
Maybe since GSA is here, and I don't know, Terry's probably interested in this too, but dredging of Manchac, do we have an update on that?
Mr. Dawson and Ms. Cazzo, I don't have a date that I can provide you. We have begun the effort toward getting started. The process.
Getting started on the permit process, is that correct?
Well, we don't on Manchac. We're kind of working them somewhat hand in hand with the Fish Bayou structure. There's some effort that will go into both of those projects that will benefit each other. But if you recall, what we proposed to do, a couple of different things on Manchac. One was to look at the side scan sonar to look. We do have proposals to do that. We also have a proposal to do some surveying to run cross sections in there. When we met with East Baton Rouge Parish and Iberville Parish, of course, the Pontchartrain Levee District will want a commitment from the three parishes, Ascension, Iberville, and East Baton Rouge Parish. If they're going to spend money to study it and develop a plan for Bayou Manchac, then they want a commitment from the three parishes that they will participate in a funding mechanism to share in that cost. Okay, so when we met with East Baton Rouge and we met with Iberville and Ascension, is that no one wants to spend money that is not going to be beneficial. So part of our effort will be to show that this is what can be done and will have benefit before any of these parties will agree to be able to participate in any financial share. So,
did I miss the answer there, Mr. Shaheen?
The answer being, I can't give you a date for the dredging. No.
Okay.
I can't give. We have not had a pre-permitting meeting now with the Corps of Engineers yet. So I can't until we meet with them, until we finalize all the details of the things that we need to do. And I can't give you a date at this time.
Okay. Thanks.
You're welcome.
Mr. Sally, had anything? You good? Mr. Aaron?
I have a couple. Glenn, I don't want to let you get too far. Make you work that hip a little bit. Just on the bayou.
Brand new, man. Absolutely.
Well, you got to break them in.
Yeah.
Otherwise, what's the point of getting it? On the Bayou Manchac dredging, have we done any modeling on how that affects or could affect backwater flooding?
That'll be part of the study.
Okay. We haven't done any of that yet.
The question was raised by East Baton Rouge Parish.
Okay, good.
Okay, is that whatever we do from a dredging standpoint, they don't want any adverse effect from backwater flooding, enhancing the backwater flooding from the Amite River.
Okay, good. That's all I have for you. I'll let you get down. I do have one other question. I just do want to ask Glenn. And I don't know who can answer this, or if you want to get back to me on it. No, I don't think it's for you, Glenn. On Muddy Creek riprapping, where do we stand on that? I don't know if.
Message the other day, Aaron.
Oh, I'm
if you don't mind, what we'd like to do with that is get the listing of residents. You said you had a few constituents calling you about it. If you don't mind, get me a list of those and addresses. We'll be glad to sit down with them, because there was several large landowners that we went through, and the crews and the managers have been negotiating with them, and they've been pretty well satisfied so far. So we want to make sure exactly where you're talking about.
Oh, it's not complaining. It's just they want to know when it's going to be done.
Sure. So let me get in contact with those residents, and
Okay.
we'll walk through it with them.
That'll work.
More than glad with.
Ms. Terry, on the drainage report.
I need to ask Ron about the procedures around the Frog Bayou and Alligator Bayou locks right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have constituents who monitor those gauges very, very closely, and who are concerned that while Ascension is doing what it's supposed to be doing, Iberville is not.
Yes, ma'am.
And so, we need these, as I understand it, these agreements are entered into. It's part of the Corps permitting process. This is what the operation plan is for these locks. And if that's not being handled correctly, then how do we affect a change in that on behalf of the folks who live back in the ridge?
Sure. I know you and Bill had spoke about this a while back, and we have taken those steps as far as when we enact the gates, either closing or opening. We do send out a group text. We have the contact, I think it's Mr. Walters, with Iberville, and we let them know when we see the potential of stopping water from coming in or going out. We certainly communicate to them when and how we are doing what we do. As Bill told you, it's their jurisdiction as to the big locks of Alligator Bayou. So we can inform them, and he said if we continue to have a problem of this nature, maybe we'll reach out to the parish president of Iberville and Mr. Walters, request a meeting with them to get some clarity. But,
So what I would like, if you will, please, is for you to do some kind of monitoring of this process and making sure that it is indeed being responded to when this group text goes out. And then we will know if we have a problem. And I know that the parish president would be happy to arrange a meeting with the parish president in Iberville.
Sure.
And we need to have a conversation about what's happening.
The last
Where's
two
the
times that
communication
we
problem?
did, which was a week ago, I believe it was, Keith did go ahead and make contact with Mr. Walters, and they actually did meet out there and discuss, closing. Keith had went in and acted our locks, and he did call Mr. Walters, and they did come to agreement and close the locks at Alligator Bayou. So they are communicating, but no hurt in talking about it further and making sure that from this point forward we get a good clarity of understanding of who's doing what and how and when. So we'll
Thank you
be
so
glad
much.
to do that.
Thank you.
Mr. Todd?
I'm good.
Mr. Johnny? Mr. Bennett?
Good, thank you.
Anyone else from, Mr. Daniels from HNTB or BKI? You need anything else? Everything else is good?
I just got,
Mr. Kluwer?
just real quick on the work that's being done on the floodplain management. We believe that we want everybody to stay on top of that. We believe that's the cornerstone of where we're looking, what we're going to do in this parish, where we're going to build, where we're not going to build, what we're going to allow, what we're going to do. And so don't let anybody think for a second that that's anywhere next to second place, okay?
Mr. Dahl?
Yeah, we did meet with them earlier this week, and that was a topic of discussion to make sure that that is definitely a front burner and it's not being neglected, and they're sure that it is. So we have a detailed timeline to present you, but it is being worked. Yeah. Okay.
All right, appreciate everyone. We'll move on to number 7, an authorization to enter into an intergovernmental agreement. Mr. Dawson and Mr. Cody Martin with PLD. I've been working real close with this agreement, and I'm gonna hold Ms. Terry back and
I'm going to dance on the dais here. I danced on my bar one time.
Mr. Cody, you have anything?
Well, I would start with
Mr.
Mr. Chairman.
Dawson will start it, and I'll answer your legal question.
This is something, of course, we've been working on, and it's getting PLD, to assist us with some of the process of dealing with these gates and the structure over at Frog Bayou and Fish Bayou. This is just to get the President authority to sign that agreement, so we can go ahead and move forward with the implementation of the design.
Appreciate that. Ms. Terry, this is yours.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. All that have participated in making this happen. I appreciate it very much. My constituents on the Ridge Road and in the Bluff Swamp area will be very grateful when something happens here that gives them some relief from the kind of event that happened a few years ago and last year, and then keeps them out from under that threat of having that happen again. We're very grateful. I appreciate our delegation and certainly the PLD and Glenn for the work that they've done on this. I'm anxious to see how the design turns out, and I'd like to be kept in the loop on that, please.
You got a
And then I'll
motion?
make the motion.
Motion by Ms. Terry, second by Mr. Johnny.
All right.
Any opposition to the motion? Not, motion passed. Move on to number 8, approval of substantial completion certificate, and this is for Mr. Ron Salvar.
Yeah, this is for asking approval, substantial completion certificate, the contract between East Ascension Drainage District 1 and John Tomplay Land Services LLC for demolition of single-family resident at 440400 Highway 42, Prayville. The job is completed, and we're asking
Motion.
for approval.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Benny, second by Mr. Todd. Any opposition to the motion? Not, motion passed. We skipped on these 3. Number 12, approval to enter into a cooperative endeavor agreement. Ms. Martha Collins and Mr. Ron Salvar.
I'm a pitch it for Ron tonight.
Thank you.
I apologize for the confusion on the agenda items. We had to pull 3, but this one right here is ready to go. We would like to ask the Drainage Board to enter in a corporate agreement, CEA, between East Ascension Consolidated Gravity Drainage District Number 1 approval and homeowner for the elevation of Site 5, which is 18691, in the amount of $99,500 for a 75-25 match. No cost to the parish. Oh, lost it. Split with, for the homeowner and the federal government in accordance with all FEMA regulations at no cost to the parish, and to authorize Parish President Kenny Matassa to sign and execute all documents pertaining to this CEA, and Ms. Gwen LeBlanc, CFO, financial documents.
So moved.
Motion to,
Moved
second.
by Mr. Aaron, second by Ms. Terry. Any opposition to the motion? Not. Motion passed.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Martha. Well, number 13, moved by Mr. Johnny, second by Mr. Terry. We adjourn.